Welcome back, my dear learners and my dear champs. Let's learn one more greatest odes, one more greatest ode written by John Keats. The name or the title of this greatest ode of John Keats is To Autumn or Ode to Autumn. Like all other his four great odes like Ode to a Nightingale, Ode on Grecian Urn, Ode on Melancholy, and Ode to Psyche. This very particular ode, that is to Autumn, was also composed in the year 1819. Remember, my dear learner, that is very important. This poem, this ode to autumn was composed in the year 1819, the year that saw the composition of Keats's five great odes. And it was probably the last ode that John Keats composed, and this very particular year, my dear learner, marked the end of the poetic career of John Keats. You need to remember this too. Why? Because it is very, very important. On one hand, 1819 was the most fruitful year in the life or in the poetic career of John Keats. On the other hand, this very particular year also marked the end of the poetic career of John Keats. This very particular ode, now let's talk about this very particular ode to autumn. As the title does itself suggest, it's all about autumn. In this very particular poem, like all other odes, you know that ode is a kind of a poem composed or written in the form of the address. Here he is celebrating autumn, that very particular season. He is glorifying this very particular season and talking a lot or speaking a lot about the bounty of this very particular season. This very particular poem, Ode to Autumn, is, dear learners, divided into three stanzas, 11 lines each. Like all other odes, which are generally written in what? Iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter line is a kind of a line in which 5 stressed syllables and 5 unstressed syllables are used. And what is the pattern of these just syllables? First unstressed, followed by second stressed, then so on and so forth. So, like all other odes, this very particular ode by John Keats is also written in iambic pentameter. Each and every line of this very particular ode is consisted of 10 syllables. Remember, my dear learners, 10 syllables. Each and every, this poem is consisted of 3 stanzas. Each stanza has 11 lines. It means total number of the line used in this very particular poem is how many? 33. Remember this. And each line is consisted of 5 stressed syllables. Here in this very particular poem, actually the poet is glorifying this very particular season. The season that is full of flowers and fruits and full of natural beauty. How does the nature look? But on one hand, this very particular poem speaks volume about the beauty of the nature. on the other hand, it also hints about that very particular season that destroys everything, or that punctuates a full stop to each and everything on this very particular planet, that is winter. Soon after the autumn, which season comes in? It is winter. So here this very particular season is a kind of a period of transition. It is showing a kind of a transition in nature, shift or change in nature. Now from summer, slowly and slowly, how this autumn has extended, given a kind of extension to the summer. And very soon this season is going to end, when with the end or the death of this very particular season, which season will set in? Winter season set in. And you know that winter symbolizes what? Death. Winter symbolizes what? Suffering. Winter symbolizes what? Problems and difficulty. So is also the case with autumn, because autumn also symbolizes loss of potential and power and productivity. But here, like his all other odes, like Ode on Grecian, Ode on Melancholy, Ode to Psyche and Nightingale, the approach and the attitude of the speaker of the poem is to great extent different. Somehow he is not very much bothered about the death and destruction. Somewhat he is not very much bothered about the transient happiness, about the transient joy in the human life. But to some extent his approach is very much different. But no doubt at all, somehow here he is also giving a hint of that very particular death that very soon will come and take with it everything. So, my dear learners, now let's look at the first stanza of this poem, Ode to Autumn, consisted of 11 lines, and let's look how does the poet or the speaker of this poem imagine in a very rich and in a very beautiful manner how the speaker of the poem is personifying this very particular season, that is a season of fruit, that is the season of fruit and flowers. And fruit, what kind of a fruits? Very soft fruits, all because of their ripeness. So see, let's look at the first stanza of the poem. Let's look at the first 11 lines of the poem. And one thing remember, my dear learner, each stanza of the poem is divided into two parts. The first 4 lines actually just simply introduces the subject or the theme, and the last 7 lines actually just holds the detail or just recurs the detail of that very particular subject. So in the first 4 lines of this first stanza, simply the poet or the speaker of the poem is going to introduce his subject, and in the last 7 lines he is going to describe in detail that subject. So let's look at the first stanza of this poem and understand it line by line. Look at season of mist and mellow. Mellow means soft, all because of ripeness. Fruitfulness means full of fruits. So he says that autumn season is the season of mist and soft fruits, or fruits full of fruits, and those fruits very soft. Close bosom. Close means very close, means close bosom means best friend. Close bosom means best friend of, actually my dear, yes, bosom means very close. So close bosom, almost two words actually mean the same, but only for emphasizing the relationship, between autumn and the sun. Here he has used close and bosom both. If I say close friend, meaning same. If I say bosom friend, meaning same, mean the best friend. Even then he has made use of two you can say adjectives, close and bosom. So see, close bosom friend of the maturing sun. So see, maturing sun means the sun, aging sun. Maturing sun means aging sun, the sun that is growing in age, and it's all because of growing in age. What happened? Just becoming old or aging. So he says, here he says that sun is the best friend of autumn. He means to say that there is a very good friendship between autumn and sun. So see, autumn and the sun, both of them have been personified in the poem, my dear learners. Remember this, that is very important. So see, in the first two lines of the poem, we have which figure of speech? That is personification. And apart from personification, remember this, the poem begins with the address to autumn, describing the bounty of the autumn. It means the autumn is straightway given an address. So if an abstract, non-living, or a dead is given a straightway address, it is apostrophe also. So the first line of the poem, in the first line of the poem, apostrophe is used. Since autumn and sun are personified or treated as a living one, it means which figure of speech? Personification is used. Why? Because see here, he is calling the sun maturing sun, aging sun. It means the sun is also standing at the peak of its own luster and maturity. Very soon the autumn will begin, and very soon the winter will begin, and what will happen? Will the sun be able to just shine with all its brightness and luster and warmth and heat? It actually shines in the summer and autumn? No. The sun will suffer a loss of its brightness, its heat, and its warmth. Means the sun will also experience a kind of a death very soon in winter. So see here autumn, we can say that autumn is here somehow connecting life and death. Autumn here stands for that very particular phase of time in the human life that links two different phases of life. The one, that bright phase or the good phase of life, and that very dim and dull phase of life that at last brings an end to that life. So see here, he says that autumn and just sun are very good friends. Since they are very good friends, they put their both heads together, make a planning make a planning, and by making a proper planning, they load the season with flowers and fruits, and help the fruits to grow and mature and become absolutely ripe. So is it possible for the fruits and flowers to gain their maturity, or to get their maturity and ripeness in the absence of the heat and the warmth of the sun? No. So he says that this season has a very good bonding with the sun, and together they grow. Together they load the trees and the plants with the flowers and fruits, and then they make them mature and make them ripe. And what will happen after ripeness? What will happen to the fruits after gaining, or after securing, or getting full maturity? Decay and destruction. So on one hand, he talks of life. He talks about the bounty of the autumn. On the other hand, he also gives a kind of a hint that the moment that this very particular season also gives the indication, and is also a kind of an indicator to that death and destruction that will soon appear on the horizon. So see, he says conspiring means planning or plotting. So he says soon. See, here his actually conspiring word is actually used particularly for making a kind of a bad plan, making a kind of a plan for harming others, harming a person or harming someone. But here why does the poet use this word here? Very cleverly and very smartly, the poet has made use of this word conspiring. Why? Because he gives that kind of a hint that these two beings, why do they make a plan? And if they make a plan, for what? For maturing the fruits and ripening the fruit. And if the fruit ripen, then what will happen? The next stage will be the age of the destruction and decay. That's why here he has made use of this word, my dear learners. Which one? Conspiring. So he says that the autumn and the sun, since they are close friends, together they have made a planning of what? Conspiring with him. See, conspiring with him. Him here, you remember this, him stands for the sun. So here the poet says that autumn has made a what? Made a conspiracy with the what? With the sun, particularly to load and bless with the fruits, the vines means creepers, that round the thatch eaves run. Thatch is a kind of a roof area of a cottage. Eaves means that very particular bottom, or the just those edges, you can say, or the corners of the roof. So he says that autumn has made a kind of a planning or conspiracy with the sun, particularly to load each and every tree with fruits, and each and every plant with the flowers. Okay? Each and every vine. So those vines and creepers spread all over the thatch of a cottage, or roof of a cottage, or the corners of the thatch. So he says, the poet or the speaker of the poem says that lots of certain creepers, like the pumpkin creepers or the god creepers, have spread themselves everywhere on the thatch of the cottage, and each and every corner of the thatch are absolutely, so each and every is absolutely covered with these creepers, and these creepers are full of what? Full of fruits or full of vegetables. See, to bend with apples, mossed cottage trees. So the poet says that those apple trees that are grown outside the farmhouse, all right, are fully loaded with the fruits. There are so many fruits, or the fruit has come to the branches of the tree in such abundance that almost all the branches of the trees have almost come down and almost touching to the ground. All because of the heaviness, and all because of the load of the fruit, my dear learners. So you can imagine the autumn. How does the autumn look? How does the how does the autumn season look? We can imagine that wherever our eyes go, arise only and only see flowers and fruits so much in abundance that the branches of the boughs of the trees almost bend down and touching to the ground. So he says that all those apple trees covered with the green color alga or the moss are loaded with the fruit in so much abundance that the branches almost bend and are almost touching to the ground. So see the beauty of the description of the poet of the autumn season, and see the visual imagery. The poem is so much rich in visual imagery. We can imagine these words or these lines of the just poem help us imagine the autumn season. How does autumn season just look like, or how does autumn season fill the nature, fill the trees with the fruits and flowers. Look that. See, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. And he says that how does autumn with the help of the sun just to fill each and every fruit to the core with the pulp, with the flesh. How the fruits become fleshy, how the hazelnut become full of soft kernel in this very particular season. And the autumn is able to make it possible, or is able to do this only because of the maturing sun. So see, to swell the God, my dear learner, it is God, not, yes, G-O-U-R-D, God, it is correct, it is R. And plump means fat. The hazel shell is a kind of a dry fruit with the hard covering. Shell means a hard covering. Hazel is the name of a plant. With a sweet kernel, that sweet, soft, you can say, just a pulp that is found inside the hard covering of just a nut is called kernel. So he says that autumn has made just a God. There's a kind of a vegetable, has helped this very particular vegetable help this vegetable to grow, or means this he means to say that the autumn has helped each and every plant or each and every trees to load themselves with the fruits and vegetables and the flowers, like the just god creeper has made its vegetable absolutely just mature, or absolutely you can say this absolutely full with all its, you can say this, with all its vegetable. This hazel shells have now become swollen, all because of the soft kernel inside that. Why? Because the soft kernel inside the hazel shell have become swollen, means have gained their full size and shape, and have gained their full maturity. He says, and still more later flowers for the bees. And he says, and those flowers or flowers which are late, which could not bloom in the summer season, now the autumn will help them bloom, particularly for the bees. And bees whose hives, actually is talking about the honey bees, the hives of the honey bee. Hives of the honey bee are so much full of honey that honey could be seen or can be seen dripping. And it's all because of that. It's all because of that, since their hives, since the hives of the just honey bees are full of honey, and still they can see the flowers, still they can find the blooming flowers, and still it is possible for them to collect the pollen from the flowers. They are in a kind of a doubt that the summer is not going to end. Why? Because the autumn has given a kind of extension to the summer. Maybe the summer may have ended long back, but the autumn has given a kind of extension to the summer, and it's all because of that. We can say that it's a kind of a period of transition in between summer and winter. Very soon, why? Very soon the autumn will end, giving way or path, or yes, giving way or path to the winter, and winter will only come to destroy and cause the decay to all those matured flowers and fruits. Because after blooming and gaining full maturity, what will happen to the flowers, and what will happen to those fruits which have gained their 100% maturity? Definitely they will start decaying. So this autumn is somehow, on one hand, autumn is describing the beauty of the nature, loads the nature with the fruits and flowers. On the other hand, it is speaking indirectly, or it is indirectly giving a hint of that approaching death and destruction that will seal the life of each and every object or element in the nature. And my dear learners, remember that this was the poem John Keats had written in the month of September. Maybe it was 19th September that John Keats had written this very particular poem, and he got this very particular poem published with Lamia, just the Eve of St. Agnes, and so many other poems in the following year, means 1820, and exactly after a year or a few months after the composition of this very particular poem, just John Keats actually just passed away, or did breathe his last. So somehow John Keats had that kind of apprehension, and that's why John Keats here is using the autumn particularly to give a hint of that approaching death, means that winter that will seal everything, that will destroy everything. So see, look at the poem. So see, for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease. So see, since the autumn has made those buds just bloom, or help those buds just grow into a bloom into the beautiful flowers or flowers, it's all because of that. Honey bees are in a kind of a confusion whether the summer is not going to end this year. Why? Because autumn has given a kind of extension to the summer. It's all because of that. They are in a kind of a confusion whether the summer is not going to end. Why? Because generally no flowers bloom in autumn. But there are some plants with the buds which actually bloom in the this autumn season. So since this autumn has helped those plants with the buds unbloomed, just bloom them, or autumn helped these just plants to bloom those flowers. It's all because of that. They are in a kind of a confusion, means bees are in a kind of a confusion whether this year the summer will never end. But it is only their confusion. The thing that is born is destined to die. That is a kind of a thing in the hindbrain of this very particular speaker of this poem, my dear learners. For summer has overbrimmed their clammy cell. Clammy means wet shells. There's hives. Clammy shell means hive, honey. Beehives. The hive, that very particular structure, particularly made by the bees, particularly for storing honey. So he says that the summer filled the shells means the hives of the bees with the honey, and now the honey is dripping because it is excessively filled with the honey. It's all because of that. They are in a kind of a confusion. They can see still, they have still flowers. They can see the flowers still. And now they cannot collect the pollen, because if they collect the pollen, where will they collect? Where will they keep? Because already their hives full of honey. So, my dear learners, I hope the first stanza consisted of 11 lines is clear to you. So now let's look at the figures of speech used in this poem, my dear learners. So let's look at the season of mist. So first thing, you remember that in the first line of the poem, actually the poet is addressing the autumn. So if I told you, if a non-living or an abstract thing is actually addressed, it is apostrophe. So in the first line of the poem, apostrophe is used. Why? Because the speaker of the poem is addressing to autumn. So second, see this, mist, mellow. Mellow means soft. So see, mist and mellow, two words actually beginning with M, means two words holding the sound of M at the beginning. It means alliteration. So the first line of the poem has alliteration. Second, apostrophe. Now see, next line, close bosom friend. So see, here son is called the friend. Sun is here actually compared to a friend, or a straightway here the poet is calling the sun bosom friend to autumn. It means which literary device or figure of speech is used in the second line, my dear learner? First, metaphor. Why? Because sun is straightway compared to a friend. Sun is straightway called the friend to autumn. Second thing, since sun is personified as a human being, that's why personification is used. See, here he is using the word maturing sun. How can sun be aging? Here he imagines suns growing in age just as humans grow in age. It means here sun is personified. So the second line of the poem, metaphor is used. Why? Because comparison, sun is called straightway, the friend without using the word like as comparison is made, so metaphor. Second, sun is personified as a human being. Why? Because human beings actually grow in age, they experience aging process, aging. So second figure of speech used in the second line is what? Personification. So in the first line, two figures of speech, apostrophe and alliteration. Second line, two figures of speech. First metaphor, second personification. See, conspiring with him to load and bless. To load and bless. See, with fruit the vines that round the thatch. See this, that the thatch. Three words begin with, or three words holding the sound of T at the beginning. It means, again, alliteration is here used. To bend with apples, mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. So see this here, fill sound of I. See this, with sound of I, ripeness sound of I. So here there is a repetition of I sound in this very particular line, that is assonance, A-S-S-O-N-A-N-C-E, assonance. To swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells. Fine, see this, swell, shells beginning with S. So repetition of the S sound. Again, which figure of speech? Alliteration. Then this to, the, again alliteration, repetition of T sound. With a sweet kernel to set. See, sweet, set, budding more, and still more later flower for the bees. So see, good example again of, you see, alliteration, flowers, F for F. Until they think again days will never end. And they stand for what? Actually honeybees. For summer has brimmed their clammy cells. So I hope, my dear learners, the first stanza of this very particular poem is clear to you. will be clear, would be clear to you, provided that you find some complications in understanding any particular line of this poem. Feel free to make a comment below in the comment box. I'll try my level best to resolve your all doubts in the next video. Till then, my dear learners, bye-bye. And before I leave, I will make a personal appeal to you to give your love and support to my channel, dear learners. That's it in this video, dear learners.